Let's do it, y'all. I see you guys weighing in. Giannis Antetokounmpo coming down. Shams hitting us with the Shams bomb. We're gonna get to my man Anthony Beers here in a moment. We go way back Suni Oneonta, having to adjust on the fly because Anthony's a big Giants fan. I'm gonna bring him in a moment. So I hit him up last week saying, "Man, you're one of the first people I think of." Dave Rothenberg. He comes to mind. My man Anthony Pusick. Shout out ESPN Radio. He's a producer on DHR, and then Anthony Beers, who's working with MLB.com, but is a big Giant fan. So I saw the Harbaugh news. I was on here reacting to it. I hit him up. I said, we got to get you on the show to talk about it. And I was planning to just do a full breakdown of that, which we will do. But now we have some breaking news coming in the last hour. According to Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, Adam Schefter, it looks like Todd Monken is headed to the Cleveland Browns. He is going to be their head coach. Todd Monken was the number one candidate for the Giants offensive coordinator position. He obviously has ties to John Harbaugh. We've got that. We've got the Jets hiring a defensive coordinator, according to NFL Network. Man, Brian Duker. Oh, wow. Then, of course, you've got the Giannis news. So we'll go in order of business as we say hello to my man Anthony Beers, Tony Joseph on the screen.
Yeah,
He hops in. I'm excited to talk to him. He's wearing that Giants red right now. Giants red. I see the logo.
of course.
Is today the anniversary of Wide Right? Did I see that correctly?
I think yesterday, but it's
Yesterday?
like it's like every day's a new Super Bowl or postseason anniversary, right? So I just keep replaying the same things. But
Replaying that, you've got the almost Asante Samuel interception right before
the
Eli
helmet catch,
Manning,
yeah,
the helmet
you
catch.
don't have to remember that part.
You don't have
You
to remember
just let
that
it go
part. But
away.
what we do want to remember is that for the last decade, first and foremost, hello, man. How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing, man? It's nice to see you.
Good to see you in the flesh. Second time he's on the show. Ty D Butler is where you can find me on the social media platforms. See the Ty Butler show logo. For the last decade, man, has not been a great time for you and your football team. And people often get this wrong, right? Like my mother-in-law sometimes, God bless her soul, she'll say, "Why are you so upset? It's just sports." They don't understand it, man. They don't get it. And I know you've got deep family connections, how you've bonded with your dad and you know
That's right.
your older relatives. So this obviously means a lot to you. So let's start there. First and foremost, how did this news hit the Anthony Beers household? Your dad, all of the family members who are as invested into the Giants as you are.
Yeah, so nowadays a lot of this has become digital. We kind of have like a family thread that has become our, it's like 10% Family Matters, 90% Giants football talk and all the fun stuff. We were breaking down potential candidates. We were all over this obviously because we had the vacancy really since November. Nobody really anticipated Kafka would stay. Um, so yeah, when Harbaugh became available, it was just obvious, I think, to every Giants fan and every person in the Giants building that this was an all hands on deck matter, and it was like, let's get the best possible guy in at the best possible time, because this ownership regime is, been through a lot with previous head coaches, but also so much at stake with John Mayer's health and the future of the team. It just felt like no expenses were spared, and they were literally making a red carpet for John Harbaugh. And think it's fair to say pretty much every Giants fan is happy with that. It's very rare we all agree. I have yet to run into a Giants fan who's like, I don't really love this move. Not hasn't happened, so it's exciting. But obviously, a lot of changes happening within the building, so we got to see how this all develops.
Yeah,
Monken is big.
and a lot of changes necessitated. You look at the last 5 seasons, and I did this on my radio show. I did this on this show. You look at like diametrically opposed statistics between the Baltimore Ravens and the New York Giants. Win percentage, the Giants are 31st, the Ravens are tied for 5th. Points per game, the Giants are 30th, the Ravens are 6th. Yards per game, the Giants are 29th, the Ravens are 5th. Scoring defense, the Giants are 27th, the Ravens are 4th. Why I bring that up is because you just mentioned of John Harbaugh coming in and essentially cleaning house, which is something that not only had to happen, but if there's anyone who's going to come in and do that and you trust the process, and not to use that phrase because, you know, the Sixers have made a mockery of it, but you trusted in John Harbaugh, who comes in with a resume, with credentials. He's commanded respect, not just from the locker room, but as you just talked about, the entire fan base is now engaged. And we saw employees 4 decades into this thing. They're getting reassigned. So he comes in, he does his thing, and now you have to go into next season with expectations. Like, and I'm not just talking about, oh, we're going to be better and not embarrass ourselves, but we could make the playoffs. And I know we got a draft and free agency, but quarterbacks in place, head coaches in place. And for all our years watching the NFL, if you nail that combination, outside of some major injury happening, the floor is making the playoffs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think if you just going on the whole process with John Harbaugh, today you wake up as a Giants fan, everybody's happy, everybody's fully in love with it until there's a reason not to. And there will be reasons. There will be tumultuous times, even in the John Harbaugh era. I doubt it's going to be he walks in and we win every single game. But to me, this is the next Tom Coughlin. And Giants fans will tell you there were plenty of Giants fans that had a hard time with Tom Coughlin. He was pushed out. I mean, hell, we live in a town where Knicks fans pushed out Tom Thibodeau when we were in the Eastern Conference Finals. So today, right now, offseason, everything good. John Harbaugh has all the power in the world to bring in who he wants. Nice to see they got the defensive coordinator position filled. Not the biggest name, I would have liked, but hell, it's a Harbaugh guy, right? So just
Yeah.
let's go through with it. Now Monken was obviously his top choice, so we'll see how he pivots to that now that Monken has taken the deal with Cleveland. But as Giants fans, we're unanimous. We're happy. Just it will change the second the draft, free agents, preseason, whenever there's an opportunity for another opinion. I think for a while, Giants fans will give Harbaugh a lot of rope, probably the longest rope we've seen in, like you said, 5 years to a decade. But
And maybe, how about this, the longest rope ever? Because you just brought up Tom Coughlin. And I know we
yeah,
were both much younger back then,
hmm
but and Coughlin, obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. He's going to get into the Hall of Fame. He's got the 2 Super Bowl rings. This, to me, is the biggest hire in Giants history, because you can go back and look at guys who had success with this organization, but none of them came in as accomplished as John Harbaugh. So
right.
that's like that is to me like one of the, you know, most significant parts of how we analyze this.
Right. Let me put you on the spot. How often is a little bit of a trivia for you? How many
Okay.
times do you think in Giants history the Giants have brought in a head coach that was essentially outside of the organization? I'll give you a hint. It's happened like 3 times,
Out
and and I'll count Tom
Joe
Coughlin
Joe
because Tom.
Judge.
Well, not really. He was kind of part of the coaching tree, right?
Okay,
S-
Belichick, you're saying. Okay. So
Yeah,
okay,
I
some
mean,
special teams. Hmm.
established head coach with
Okay.
a resume elsewhere. I should have said the question better.
Established head coach with a
Outside of the
resume
Giants.
outside of the Giants. Well, it's very
Right.
rare.
hmm
Coughlin has to count, right? Because that's
He's one.
Jacksonville.
Yes, technically, Coughlin was a receivers coach with the Giants when he was very young, but he had really established himself with Jacksonville as a
Yeah.
head coach. So kind of tied to the organization, but he was an outside hire. So the other one, we're talking about right now in John Harbaugh. The third one, I don't know if you're going to get, but I'll
All
give
right.
you
Who is
a
it?
chance.
Hit me.
Dan Reeves, and
Dan.
it didn't
Okay.
and it
Yes.
didn't
Coach
go
of the
great.
year.
It
Coach of the
started
year.
okay. Yeah, it was similar to kind of like Dayball. It was like initially good, and then it
Yeah.
just eviscerated very quickly. But just goes to show you how the Giants are. They really are a family first organization, and they are it's the Mara family, it's the Tisch family, the ties within it, for better or worse. And that's why the Giants throughout their history have had good times, bad times, and friggin' ugly times. We're talking about a 100-year history where things go up and down. But for Giants fans, I think what was most encouraging about this hire was it's just nice to know that Giants football still means something to a prestigious football individual. Obviously, times have been tough. We could really break that down for hours. How ugly and how horrible it's been. The the Saquon drama that you mentioned, Joe Judge kneeling it twice on your own five. The boat ride. I mean, it has
Ben
mostly been
McAdoo's,
that
yeah,
the boat ride and Ben McAdoo. One good season and the Eli benching, all of that. Just so freaking bad. We are so removed from those highlights that you talked about at the top of the show. So it's just different right now. We're in uncharted territory, full autonomy. He's reporting to John Mara,
mhm.
Harbaugh as well. So this is new. I'm excited about it. I'm happy about it, but I do think there will be some ups and downs like anything else. But I think ultimately the expectation is to win.
I'm shocked that Joe Shane is still the general manager, because if we're doing the whole clean house thing, the one guy that I feel is, it would be warranted to be shown the exit door is the general manager who over the
Hmm.
last 4 years has overseen a ship that's gone 22, 45, and 1 and has progressively gotten worse each year. And this one might have been the worst. So I'm shocked that he's still on board. I still
I think there's
don't.
really only one reason for it, and I think it was John Mara's health. I think it's a lot more challenging to bring in an entire new GM and head coach than
Yeah.
it is to move on from the head coach in November and know the GM is staying and know that he's doing everything he can. Because history tells us now he was immediately doing what he needed to do. He was expecting vacancies. Tomlin was on his mind, Harbaugh was on his mind. You know what I mean? All the big names were there. So I
Which is
think
smart for him to do. Reach out to those guys early.
so give Shane some credit. Obviously, I think he was surprised as well that Dayball left and he didn't stay. You saw how nervous he was in the presser.
Yeah.
Nice guy. He's had a lot of ups and a lot of downs as a
There's also a
GM.
spin zone going on because I'm sure he is in the Mara family's ear saying, I was the one who drafted Jackson Dart, when we know, because
Sure.
there's evidence of it,
Yeah.
That was Dable's guy.
He's got like a Venn diagram, right? Of like what was good for Joe Shane, what was bad for Joe Shane, and what was kind of good in the middle for him and Brian Dayball. I think he has some good arguments, and then obviously there's been some disasters. Probably enough disasters to get fired in most cases.
You have anyone in mind for offensive coordinator?
Uh, you know, I don't mean to sound like a troll, but it's come to my attention that John Gruden was inquired by the
With the Jets,
Jets as offensive coordinator, and he turned down the job, probably because he thinks he's a head coach. I think we all assume that.
and it's also
But
the Jets.
but could you imagine just for a second? We know Gruden loves Jackson Dart. We've seen the video that they did together. Can you imagine for a second that John Gruden became the OC? He's officially my top choice. I don't think it'll happen, but it's
I
pie
don't
in the
think John
sky.
Harbaugh wants that. Like, John Harbaugh wants to be the CEO. Everyone's
Right,
looking at me for better or for worse.
right.
John Gruden feels, and not just feels, like, is a distraction. Because, like, whenever he gets back into the
Controversial.
NFL, yeah,
Yeah.
it's his first stint back into the league. He's a big
Suing the league.
conversation. Yeah, like,
Yes.
it's too big of a conversation, and it's so messy for John Harbaugh, who just eliminated a lot of what he thought was going wrong for the team, to now bring that big of a personality and that big of a story into the Giant building.
Yeah. You asked me my top choice, though. I feel like Gruden's been humbled. I think Harbaugh is one of the few head coaches that could probably get away with saying, "No, you have to listen to me. I have more authority here." Um, like obviously, that's a guy like Aaron Glenn. It's not going to fly. I think to pivot to the Jets for a second, I think that's why you couldn't land Wink Martindale. And to be honest, I don't understand it. I don't understand why the Jets are just blatantly. This is something they can control now. Blatantly shooting themselves in the foot.
In what
I gotta
way?
get by not just biting the bullet with Aaron Glenn. And
Oh, you mean
believe
he
me,
should have been fired?
but yeah, because if
Okay.
he is, then maybe John Gruden's your head coach today. Is he not?
Maybe. I also wonder, and And if you're a Jet fan, like this, just kind of this is like a on a treadmill in your brain. Like, who wants to work for Woody Johnson? And I
No.
understand, like people say it's one of 32, and if you're Gruden, you're desperate. I get all of that, but no one wants to work for this head coach. I mean, for this owner.
And that's probably why they kept Aaron Glenn, right? Because ownership knows that. And they know that if they move on from Aaron Glenn, they're not even confident they can get a top tier replacement. But that's why I think about John Gruden. I think about the fact that, yes, he's a controversial figure. He's been out of the league. No, who the Jets need to find someone like that
Yeah,
they can get, like, or maybe Wink Martindale is a much more realistic example of who
I
could have
didn't
been
like
your
it.
head coach.
Yeah, I didn't love the Wink. I didn't love the Wink
But would
rumors
you like him
because
as head coach as
no,
opposed to DC? Why is
no,
that?
no, no. Well, because for some reason him and Brian Dable didn't get along. And people can say, well, maybe it
I
was
know the
Brian Da
reasons.
yeah,
Yeah.
people can say maybe it was Brian Dable's fault, but 31 other teams decided not to hire him the last 2 years. He goes to Michigan, and now he's desperate to get back in the league.
Here's
So,
Wink's issue, though. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but to talk about the Brian Daboll thing for a minute, the the issue with Wink is he doesn't respect authority. He does what he wants to do.
yeah, that
This
doesn't
all
sound like
happened,
someone I want
and
to be my head
but
coach.
if he's your head coach and he is the authority, that kind of cuts the issue, in my opinion. And I think the Jets could have used a guy like that because Wink knows defense. That's not his problem. He's very good at calling the game. He had an issue in Baltimore with John Harbaugh. That's what got
Yes.
him pushed out. He had an issue with the Giants. And when it happened twice, that ultimately got him into college football. But all of these instances, the defense, in most cases, gets worse after he leaves.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, but the Baltimore defense, the year his last year in Baltimore, they were a bottom third defense. And your Giant defense in 22, second in forced fumbles. They were first in overall takeaways in 2023, but total defense, they weren't like great. And he can argue we didn't have the personnel, but I don't love the personality. I don't love the alpha male ish. I just want someone more established as a head coach with
sure.
a resume similar to John Harbaugh in this situation, stepping in. And it's not like I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to show you because I've done it before.
The point is, what you want and what you're realistically going to get
Yeah.
as a Jets fan are not the same thing.
But
So you have to
I've
take a
already
chance.
I've already and I was on screaming last night because of
Hmm.
this whole Tanner Hickstrand situation. I've already settled I, and I'm saying this knowing that it's not true, but I think I've already settled emotionally on the fact that this next year is a wash. And I'm going to be
Yeah.
doing the same dance a year from now with a new head coach, a new quarterback, a new defensive coordinator, a new offense. It's going to be the same thing next year. And it
I mean,
sucks.
it
If you want
feels like Glenn's
stability.
not going to survive the season
No, it doesn't feel that
because
way.
Woody did this with Saleh, where he decided to keep him when he was probably on the fence. They had some drama. He wanted Rodgers bench. Saleh didn't. Bam, you're gone after what was, not the best start, but
They were two
that
and three.
it was a premature decision.
Yeah, they
Absolutely.
were 2 and 3 coming off of a loss by one
No,
possession.
it was
Yeah,
dumb.
so
So
it
this is what he does. This is why you're like, why are you keeping Glenn if you're just probably going to rip the Band-Aid off before the season ends next year anyway? I'd be shocked if he survives the entire year. I really would.
just quickly, I
Hmm.
want to share this. So Schefter puts this tweet out. Jets are hiring former Dolphins pass game coordinator Brian Duker as their defensive coordinator. And if you go through the replies, Jet fans are losing their minds.
Yeah, like what
Wo-
is that?
Well, here's where it makes sense. Not that I love it or I'm fond of it.
Hmm.
It makes sense because it tracks. Aaron Glenn as Kevin Zwicker 96 says, is going down with the ship. So what he has decided to do, if I'm going to get fired, I am going to get fired doing it my way. And I'm going to call the plays on defense, and then we'll just figure out a plan on offense. Maybe they'll hire Frank Reich, who he wants to be the head coach of the offense. So he
That's the
wants to
best
call the
name
play.
out there, I'd say.
Yeah, it is.
Hmm.
He is the best name out. Brian Dable, ironically enough, I would have wanted to be the
Now that
offensive
he's gone,
coordinator,
yeah. Yep.
but he's going to Tennessee.
Hmm.
And that's a really good situation for him, by the way, because you remember during the draft process last year,
He
He
wanted
loved
Cam
Cam
Ward.
Ward.
Yeah.
Yeah, loved Cam Ward, so now he gets to coach him.
I'm excited to see Saleh and Dayball unite. And, sometimes just getting away from the intensity of New York can really be a good thing. I wish them well. I do.
Um, how funny is it to you that the Eagles can't find an OC?
It feels like, and obviously I'm biased to some degree, but we've been watching the Eagles do so well for so long. It feels like this is the time when they're trending down. I, what do you think the reason is? Is it because they don't want to work with Sirianni? Is it because Jalen Hurts might not be as developed a passer as some would argue? Like, why do you think that is? Or is it because the fans are nuts? Maybe it's a combination of all three. Like, why can't they fill this role?
It's such a boom or bust job.
Mhm.
You either after 1 year get fired or you become a head coach.
Right.
And
Sirianni's stayed and had like what 3 different groups at this. This will be his third
yeah,
group.
and to his credit, two of the guys have gotten hired as head coaches, Steichen and Kellen Moore.
Hmm.
But when that thing goes south, it's so odd, man, because they're either an elite offense or they're like one of the worst offenses. Like there's no middle ground. And with a defense that good, all you needed this year. Now, I don't think they were going to beat Seattle because we see top to bottom they're the best team. But to beat the Niners, man, all you needed to do was be a mediocre offense. So I just think it's funny. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with the idea that they're trending down. There's a reason why we give Howie Roseman all the credit in the world. He is a mastermind as
He's
a
a good
general
GM.
manager. But what I do think is Nick Sirianni's on the hot seat again.
Hmm.
And if you're an offensive coordinator, similar to what the Jets have going on, that's not an attractive job, knowing that a year from now you can be
No,
unemployed.
I think they might be turning down. I'm not positive, but I look around the division. I think every analyst is going to say how much they love the Giants this year, which makes me nervous as a Giants fan. But they're all going to talk about how the young core, Dart, Scadaboo coming back, Neighbors coming back. You're going to hear it a million times. So that's going to be a hot pick. Dallas, they did what they do. They were mediocre, but not necessarily terrible, not necessarily great. Can they continue to kind of be in the mix? Maybe. But Washington, I expect to come back strong with Jaden Daniels. So you got Washington, who 2 years ago was fine, had some injuries this year. Dan Quinn, I think, is a good coach. I expect Washington and the Giants to be much better this year. So will the Eagles be enough to survive those teams? I don't know.
It's the team I trust the most. I'll tell you that.
Well, they've earned it. They've
Yeah,
earned it.
because if we're basing it on what you've done versus what I think you can do, I think what you've done ultimately wins out. And
In recent memory.
last we saw, as good as Washington was in the playoffs, they got annihilated by the Eagles in that NFC Championship game. Dallas is Dallas, but Jerry Jones, he's going to screw it up somehow.
It's
He's
really
always going to be
unbelievable.
in
Yeah.
their way. And then look, I got respect for the Giants, but as it stands, Jackson Dart's the worst quarterback in that division still. Now, I think he's going to be.
Debatable.
I think he's going to be really good. But I right now, through what he's played 12 games,
Hmm.
am I putting him
He's
ahead
probably going to
of
win Rookie of the Year. I
maybe?
think it's a very strong chance.
Well,
I mean,
The way Tyler Shuck ended the year, I think a lot of people, he might be the betting favorite right now, Tyler Shuck. But
yeah, I know. But
Jalen
Dart has got better, for lack of a better
overall
term,
numbers,
fantasy stats.
yeah,
In his 4-8 record. So and
I
less
like
games.
Dart. It's no shade at Dart. I just like right now. Am I taking the 12 game sample size over what I saw from Jaden and Dak and Jalen Hurts? I'm just not. It'll change. I think it will change because I'm a
May have
believer in
already
Jackson Dart.
changed. May have already
So
changed. We'll
where do you
see.
have him? So where do you have him?
I don't know. I understand the arguments. If we're just basing it on last year, he had a better year than Jaden Daniels. Obviously, if you
Yeah,
count
Jaden
the
didn't
last
play.
2 years, then it's a different conversation. So right now, like if the question is right now, who do I want? The answer is Jackson Dart. But if
Of
I'm
everyone in the
ranking them
division?
based on their career history, that's a completely different question.
Wait, in the
Yeah,
division,
yeah, right
if we're
now,
doing
starting this year, right now, I
the
would take
number one
him.
overall pick?
Yeah,
Wow.
because Dak's, come on, we know what Dak is, and he's a good quarterback, no doubt about that. Hurts, I think, benefits from a lot around him. I think once they get rid of this tush push, that might affect him a bit. If they get rid of that tush push, I do think you do have to put him ahead right now, sure, whatever this ranking system is, but it's like two different questions. Who would I take right now to build my team? Yeah, I'll go with Dart.
Dak's
Absolutely.
Dak's coming off of an MVP-esque season.
You think he's going to win the MVP?
No, but he's
So then why are you
he
saying he's MVPs?
well, because he's gonna get some votes.
Yeah, I mean, come
He's
on.
going to get some votes for sure.
Dak is a movie we've seen many, many times. He puts up great stats. He's a good dude. I actually think he's a very good football player, but you said it yourself. The organization probably holds him back. So,
But that's different from us just strictly talking about the quarterback.
well, if I'm ranking a guy and debating how good he can be, I have to take into context the team he is on, and he's clearly not going anywhere. So Hurts benefits from Philly tremendously when he has issues with accuracy because we know he's not that accurate of a quarterback.
I don't know, man. If I'm starting a team right now and I'm just
Starting
doing
tomorrow, it's either Dart or Daniels, and if you say anyone else, I disagree.
no, I think Dak would be the number one pick. If I'm just starting a team and because we're eliminating the Cowboys as a franchise because we're starting our own team, absent of what they currently are dealing with in Dallas. It has to be Dak.
Call Rothenberg on this one. I'd like to get his take.
I think he would agree with me.
Take Dak tomorrow.
I,
Do you
oh,
understand age is a factor here?
of course, I understand age.
So the youngest, most talented quarterback is obviously the number one choice for building a team starting tomorrow. So
Yeah,
that
but
is my argument for Dart.
age is not like if we're doing a pie chart, we're not doing 100% age. We're doing
I guess how
performance,
long do you want Dak for? Is a
but we're
better
doing
question.
performance that factors into it. And look, I as high as we are on Jackson Dart, we were higher on Jaden Daniels going into last season,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
And now
Things
look where
happen.
you've dropped him, right? So
Well, injuries happen. You're right.
which we did see happen for Dart this year, right? So it's
Yeah.
not like that's not part of the equation.
No, but
So I just think that
injuries can happen to anybody, so they're part of all
exactly,
equations.
but injuries certainly show themselves to be more prone for other guys than they are, certain guys as opposed to other guys. And we'll see. Have to see if Jackson Dart stay out of the whole
I'm glad you brought
concussion
that
matter.
up because I actually agree with the words of Jackson Dart and this whole reputation that he is reckless, right? Because that's what you're getting at, right? That he's taken too many. That was sort of the narrative with him this season. You're not making this up. He took too many hits, had a hard time getting his body down. We saw him get knocked out of the Bears game, and he was in the tent, I think, 4 times. Not ideal for the guy to be in the tent, totally. But he had one concussion this year. That's not exactly a crazy injury list. It's not exactly that bad. Will he be able to do more under this coaching and protect himself better? I think yes. So I just think the narrative out there that he doesn't protect himself when he's playing exactly as advertised. If you watched any Ole Miss football, I struggle with that.
But I think the question is less about how many concussions did he have, and it's more about is he going to, and it's the same questions we had, ironically enough, about John Harbaugh's former quarterback, Lamar Jackson, when he was younger.
Right.
Is he going to be
He
able
still
to
has injury
marry?
issues.
Is he going to be able to marry the I'm aggressive, this is who I am, this is how I have to play to be most effective with I also am the most valuable asset to my organization? Can you marry those two things together, which is really tough. Like Josh Allen sometimes struggles with that.
That's true.
It's a really tough thing.
That's a good
Jalen
point.
Hurts, and I know you're not high on Hurts, but
I'm not low on him.
I think one of the problems with Philadelphia's offense is that Jalen doesn't run anymore.
Right.
Baltimore, seeing with Lamar, wasn't running after the injuries last year. So you don't want to completely neutralize Dart, but it's
You
just
don't
all right.
want to do what the Giants did to Daniel Jones, which is put him in a box. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You
but
want
we
to, right? Is that fair to say?
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think it does speak to how high we all are on him that we're this critical because we're saying, man, you can be great. Like this is exactly what the Giants have been desperately looking for, and they got him by trading up to get him. And now we've seen some of the goods. Like that he's a special kid. He's got amazing talent.
We'll see what your opinion is in one season.
Yeah, of
in this
course it can
NBC's
change.
ranking. Yeah, it will change.
Because last year I would have said probably no. I was on the Jalen Hurts is the fifth best quarterback in the NFL thing.
Where's
Me
that
and
now?
Bart Scott spent like weeks arguing this on radio. So
I like Bart. Obviously, his take on Jalen Brunson today was despicable. Not to
that was
just totally
yesterday.
bring it. Sorry, I saw it today on my phone, but
Yeah,
his Jalen Brunson take yesterday was despicable.
that he's the reason why.
It's
Can
like
we
let's
talk?
take the best thing that's happened in the history of an organization in 25 years and blame him. Like that's what you're doing.
Wait, so you just teased me. You want to talk a little
Good.
Knicks?
Sure, let's do it. I didn't mean to do it unprecedentedly, but
No,
let's do it.
this is the beauty of the platform.
Yeah,
We can just go wherever we want. All
we
right, so
could.
Shams has this story.
Hmm.
The Bucks are starting to listen to aggressive offers on Giannis,
Hmm.
prepared for a new home at the trade deadline or in the offseason. So that last part is very, very important. Doesn't necessarily mean he's getting traded by next Thursday, the trade deadline, because there is the possibility that this waits and now we get to the offseason. If you're the Knicks, because I said this on TV on Saturday night and I got destroyed by Knicks fans who are
All
very
right,
emotional.
let's hear it.
I said that watching that game against the Sixers Saturday afternoon, I
Hmm.
actually felt worse about their title chances.
Because they
And
barely won and it was ugly.
not just that, it's an impressive win. You're on the road against a team that had twice beaten you this year.
Hmm.
And we saw them have the best quarter in that third that they've
Right.
had in weeks. They had come into the game losers of 9 of 12. So I thought all of the win aspect of it was great, except for this one important thing. The best basketball they played was with Towns on the bench.
Hmm.
And they were incredible on both ends. And it was like offensively, they scored 25 points. And I remember the numbers. They were 11 to 21 from the field.
Towns was in
Defensively,
foul trouble, if I
which worked
recall.
out perfect
Hmm.
because defensively, they forced Philly into 5 turnovers. Philly shot
Right.
20% from the field. And I found myself throughout that rest of the game thinking, man, is Towns being on the bench better for this team? Which long term is a problem because he's supposed to be your second best player. And Knicks
It's a
fans
problem
got
even if you want
emotional.
to trade him because if he's on your bench, he's got no value. Listen, is I don't know if there's a question there, but just to comment on your point, um, you can't react to a regular season NBA game with too much intensity. But the issue has been repeatedly for the month of January. It has been apparent that there are problems with the Knicks and Karl Anthony Towns right now, and I think it goes back to last year. It's not just Cat; it was Bridges
Yeah.
that ultimately got Thibodeau pushed out, and I think they they met with Leon and other coaches and said, "Look, I don't really know what my quote unquote role is." So the whole reason that they pushed out Tibbs was that he was a stubborn guy, only plays three guys on his bench, doesn't develop the younger players, and he's not getting enough value for what we gave up for Bridges, which was a lot, and what we are paying Towns and gave up for him, which is also a lot. Like it's a grotesque amount what they have wrapped up in those two guys. And that to this day that hasn't changed. They haven't gotten enough out of Bridges in terms of, 5 first rounders for one guy. They haven't gotten enough out of Towns. Towns has completely slipped in the past month, which is why I was like, how do you blame Jalen Brunson, who at this point is keeping the Knicks afloat amidst this chaos? So I struggle with that, but I'm also curious on your opinion if Mike Brown can right this ship and if you still think that was the right move or not.
Well, I never thought firing Tibbs coming off of their
Right.
best season in 25 years was the right move. But
Right.
now, I mean, we move past that and we
Yeah.
ask, like you just posed, is Mike Brown able to right the ship? I think the answer is like we really don't know yet. But what I do find,
That's what I'm asking, bro.
I nailed this. And sometimes I do give myself a pat on the back because I was on the radio night one of the season, Knicks hosting the Cavs. And I played a cut from it was the day before when the media asked Cat about his role in the Knicks offense, and his answer was, I don't know. And I said, well, that's kind of odd that you're going into a season with the highest expectations you've had since Patrick Ewing in his prime. And yet the second best player on the team doesn't know what his role is. And from that moment on, I've just paid attention to, his comfort on the team, the relationship with the head coach, and it just doesn't feel like they're on the same page, to the point where, as you mentioned, during this 3-game winning streak, he's averaging 23 minutes per game. Now, some of it is foul trouble. The other part of it is like last night, where Mike Brown after the game said, "Look, I was rolling with the unit that gave us the best chance to win. They almost lost to the Kings. It was a close game going into the fourth, and
They
so
they blew him out at the
they
end, and
blew them out in the
they were
fourth.
in control of that.
Yes, in the fourth quarter they were. But Mike Brown's thinking was, we are in danger of losing to this team again, who we just lost to a couple weeks ago. I've got to roll with my best group, and that best group didn't include Cat. So
Sure.
can he right the ship? The answer to that question lies within the, is Cat going to be able to figure this out, assuming he's on the team past next Thursday? And if he can't figure this out, I don't think the Knicks can win a championship.
Yeah, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, I think he gets too much criticism. I know he's going through a rough patch right now, but I think even before this rough patch, he had a certain reputation of maybe being too sensitive, maybe having issues with coaches. There's that story I think Jeff Teague put out there on a podcast about how Jimmy Butler embarrassed him in practice. So we know that he's sort of like a younger upcoming star, and when he was younger, older stars more or less bullied him. That's what I got on the vibe of Cat. And you saw last night Russell Westbrook being physical with him. That's a clip that's trending this morning. He couldn't
Yes, it
even
is.
post it up against Russ. Cat is under such a glaring spotlight that
But
I
comes with the
actually
territory.
lean towards feeling bad for
Man,
him
oh,
more than
come
I
on,
do
Beers.
towards
Come
being hard on
on,
him.
man. Listen,
What?
that's not the Anthony Beers that I know.
He's leads the
The
league
the,
in rebounds. He's
the
got
rugged,
11.4 per game. He's one
yes,
of the best shooters in the league. He needs to do better. I totally agree. He needs to do better. He's part of the problem. And they might even trade his ass. I'm not saying any of that isn't true, but I do think the outrage. Oh, God, like this is what he was when you traded for him.
yeah, but
So
you understand that a lot of, and it's funny because when I had my SNY put my clip out on Saturday, the amount of people who called me casual, knowing damn well, you could call me a lot of things. You're not gonna call me a casual NBA fan. There are a
no,
lot of Knick fans who were not watching Minnesota Timberwolves basketball. So they'll see highlights. They'll see the 2 times that they play the
see how good
Timberwolves.
Randall's
They'll
doing.
see, yeah, they'll see
Yeah.
stats. So you can say this is who he's always been. Cool. Once you get to New York and the expectations are enhanced, and we've got Brunson who's
And what
balling,
did he
and
do
we've
when he
got,
first got to New York, Ty? It's like 30 and 10 a night. Like it
yeah.
was nothing. And it
But he
was like, wow, this
also,
guy is a right. He literally took his shirt and said New York. And I actually got really emotional seeing that, thinking, wow, this guy needs to be here. This is a good arrival. This is
yeah, but
good.
what was the criticism of him last year before the playoffs? It was that he
Um,
was not good
defense
against,
and foul trouble, and he can't play
he
defense
wasn't,
at the 5.
yeah, and he wasn't good against the Celtics, the Cavs, like all their big games. He wasn't good against those guys. Now, obviously, they beat Boston in the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
but when you have, and I actually love it because this is the, like, when you have a fully locked in and engaged Nick fan base to the point where
It's a
it's like
beautiful
every
thing.
night is do or die.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome, man.
The only
And
thing
that
that's not
comes,
awesome are the ticket prices, but other than that, I agree. There's a buzz in the city that is so much better than the Isaiah Thomas days or
oh my
whoever you
goodness.
want to think about. But I think on the subject of Cat, I've never seen him as a 5. He's a 7-foot forward, and I know that people struggle with that because you see this guy and you expect him to be this incredible center. He sometimes will be driving and end up 4 rows in the bleachers and then not be able to get up the other way. This is part of why he has foul trouble. He's not a true center under the rim protection guy. The best minutes you saw from Towns last night, and I go back to the playoffs last year when me and my friends screamed for this. Mitch at the 5,
Yeah.
Cat at the
What's
4.
what they did in
It,
Minnesota with Gobert.
and it works because Cat is not that guy,
But
dude.
then you have an
He's
odd, so the problem with that lineup is you've got an odd man out. So Jalen's
Mhm,
going to be on the floor, and
mhm.
now you've got 2 spots for 3 guys with Bridges, OG, and Josh Hart. So it's tough to
Hart should
figure
run the
that out.
bench.
but he's your energizer, man. He's one of your
I
best
love
defensive
Hart.
players.
Hart's my favorite Nick on the team. Like, in just in terms of
And
style, he does all these. Basically, how many? And I said this to my buddy the other day. How many players on the Knicks are looking to not shoot threes and not score, not looking to get 20?
he's like
It's
the
really
young
it's Josh Hart and Mitch, right?
Mitch. Yeah,
That's
Mitch.
it. So Hart and Mitch on the floor at the same time,
It's tough.
it's tough. I would break those guys up. I also think that's why you saw the rumor that they're interested in a guy. He's very old, but Drew
True
Holiday.
Holiday, yeah.
Yeah, they
But the
need
Josh
those
Hart
role
Mitchell
players.
Robinson combo helps one of your biggest flaws, and that's the defense for 2 months was a disaster.
Yes,
And so, like, that's the
remains a
difficulty.
disaster,
Yeah, it's the difficulty when you have, and
and that's
I've
where I'm
said this,
critical of Brown, though.
yeah, but I've said this for 2 years now. When your two best players can't play defense, it's hard to win 4 playoff rounds. So
That was
Brunson,
Tibbs's problem.
yeah, and Brunson and Cat on the floor at the same time, and the numbers bear this out. You're just not going to be successful against the better team. You'll beat the Kings at home. Like, you'll be able to win those types of games. You'll smoke the Nets by 54. But when we get into the nitty-gritty of what are the advantages in a playoff series against the Celtics, even without Tatum have been awesome. You got the Pistons, they're rugged and tough, and then whoever comes out the West, can you win that series with both Cat and Brunson on the floor at the same time? And that was the question last year. And Indiana showed you, yeah, we can just put those guys in pick and roll and we'll just cook them every
Yeah,
single possession.
I think you're right. The biggest problem Tibbs had, the biggest problem the Knicks had, and the problem they still have is their two best offensive players when they're at their best are their two worst defensive players. And to rectify that, you need role players and you need people to step up. OG in the first half of January, coming back from the injury, he didn't really look right to me. He looks more like himself the last few games. I I don't know why we kill Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges can just score 12 points and it's no big deal.
Oh, he's starting to catch some heat. He
He
is.
should be getting way more heat
He had the three
than
for
he's been
16.
getting.
He had he was 3 for 16 against the Sixers and didn't play in the last 5 minutes. But
I
the
mean,
reason
come
why he
on,
got
dude.
spared was because they won the game.
And I think he made those awesome plays against Boston, those blocks. He's clutch. He's a likable guy. I thought last night he played a little bit better, but I stand by the fact that Cat and Bridges more or less pushed Tibbs out, so they should really be the ones under the spotlight right now,
Which they
and
are. They might
and
get traded.
which is crazy because that's essentially what got Tibbs kicked. Sorry if the glare on this window is making my light look weird. I'll see if I can fix that. But Brown, the issue I have with him is he's still coaching his system and not his players, and it's a common thing in sports. My system,
Yeah.
my system, my system. Do what I say, and it's kind of reminds me of Mike D'Antoni. Carmelo Anthony didn't want to play Mike D'Antoni's system, and that got Mike D'Antoni pushed out. Karl
Yeah.
Anthony Towns might not be interested in sprinting up the floor on every single long rebound and exhausting himself, ending up 18 rows in stands where he can't even get back on defense, which we know he already struggles with. So you made a guy who struggles with defense, made it harder on him, so you can prioritize transition points in your run and gun offense. They need to slow things down. They need to go back to the Tibbs way. I'm sorry. That's especially if they're only be playing three guys off the bench. I saw Michael K said that yesterday.
Yeah.
That's a great call out. Like the whole reason we were loving Brown before the NBA Cup is we had Kolick doing well and we saw how Porty getting minutes. It's like where are these guys? What's going on here?
So I want to go back to the Giannis stuff
Sure.
because this is going to be the biggest story in the league for the next 8 days and beyond because he's now um, like officially on the trade block. So I want to pull the tweet up um, from Shams here for the audience who hasn't seen. Two-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo is ready for a new home at the February 5th NBA trade deadline or in the offseason as several rival teams make aggressive offers to the Milwaukee Bucks for him and the franchise is starting to listen. So before I get to the question of do you want the Giannis trade to happen, and if so, when do you want it to happen? I just want to point out here is what makes Leon Rose's job so difficult. The cat issue's not going away. It's not going to all of a sudden go away.
Mhm.
Now, if we want to try to find a correlation between Bridges and Cat both struggling, it's not too hard to find. These are the guys linked to trade rumors. They might be having to move their families in a couple of days here. So yes, that tends, and I get they're professional athletes. They should condition themselves to know that it's a business and these things happen, but they're also humans. So with that in mind, and Cat struggling, I think this only intensifies the what's the word I'm looking for, like
The pressure he's under.
the pressure and maybe the desire to make this trade. The problem is Giannis has for the second time a calf injury. so
Mhm.
so my question again to you is, do you want the trade?
I've always been a fan of Giannis, but to any question of any trade, my answer is always going to be, well, what are we giving up? What's the deal? What are the details? So until we know those details, I'm sorry to give you a political answer.
Cat
I don't
and
know.
Bridges. Cat and Bridges is a three team
Straight
trade.
up, straight up for Giannis. If the calf issue is not really a thing, like if they did an X-ray and found out he might tear his Achilles, obviously not. But if his calf issue is not really an issue, I think I would do that today. And I
But
wouldn't have said that a month ago, to be
but
honest with you.
but I don't know that like you can just look at an MRI and say, oh, his calf
Listen,
issue
you're
won't.
putting me in a tough spot. I have no idea how his freaking calf is right now. I know I drafted Christian McCaffrey in fantasy 2 years ago, and the second you have calf soreness, you know that's an Achilles ready to pop. So
Yeah.
obviously, I don't love that. But to just for the spirit of this discussion, let's pretend he's got two functioning legs. I would do that. I would do Cat and Bridges for Giannis today
Mhm.
because they haven't lived up to expectations for a while. And they got this coach pushed out and they haven't gelled with the new guy. To me, that's enough to move on. And they've put up too much in those two guys for them to be performing how they're performing currently.
The funny thing is what's complicating this, on top of the injury stuff, and you're right, man. We have been conditioned as sports fans. The moment we hear calf issue, we think, "Uh oh, Achilles, Durant,
Mm-hmm.
Halliburton,
Mm-hmm.
Tatum." Like we just
Rogers.
know Rogers, yeah. Like
Mm,
Rogers actually did have a calf issue in training camp that we all just
yeah.
forgot about until Monday night, 4 plays into the season, and so that complicates things. But on top of that, the Bridges trade, like if you have your 5 first round picks, you not because now you're gonna need a third team involved. The Bucks are gonna want, if they're trading Giannis, to completely rebuild. They need first round picks that they gave away in the Drew Holiday trade that they gave. So they're going to need to recoup some of those picks. And you don't have those. So you need a third team involved. So you're like, how difficult is that to pull off by next Thursday as opposed to waiting until the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's gonna happen. Like, if you're I mean, I've been wrong. I'll go out here and say I don't think the Knicks are gonna get Giannis. In a week, if they get him, I'll say great. Like, I actually did a little video of my own when the Giants season ended, just sort of like a quick recap. And I said, I don't think there's any way Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh leave Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Like, I found that hard to believe in my mind. I still think it was stupid for both of them to do that. But look, here we are. They're both removed from those teams. So you just never know. But if you think about Leon's history, the big trades have not been during the regular season. They've mostly been during the off season. So it's a
Well,
lot harder to.
The OG trade happened during the season.
That's one, yes, but
Yeah.
Towns, Bridges, the guys we've been talking about, off-season moves, and I do think it's harder to make these types of moves in the middle of the season. So I'm going to lean towards it's probably not going to happen. And I think the Knicks will get like more role players added to their roster that they can hopefully add to the bench, which I think would help them. And hopefully that pressure comes off of Cat. And hopefully Mitch can stay healthy so we can see more of that those looks with like the 5 and the 4. Maybe they get another center so that Cat can play the 4 with a more defensive minded 5.
The risk you run is he goes, and this is what the Yankees were hoping with Juan Soto is you get a year to kind of wow him and show this is where you want to be. You sign the extension. So he goes to Miami and he's like, yo, I'm being coached by Eric Spoelstra and we've got Pat Riley running things. He signs an extension there. That's an L for the Knicks. Differences with baseball, obviously, no salary cap. So
He does fit in Miami very well,
yeah,
Giannis. It's
and honestly, and I don't know how much people care about this, but it's kind of poetic because when you look at Giannis's career trajectory, like part of his story is Miami. He was winning those MVPs, kept losing to the Heat in the playoffs. He finally gets over the hump, wins the championship, and now all of a sudden he ends up back in Miami. That would be kind
He
of
he
funny.
he had some words on Durant doing that, right? With
Oh yeah,
if I recall
Durant going to
correctly,
Durant
Giannis
going to
stayed in Milwaukee,
yep.
said, it's so ironic, right? Because it was literally the opposite. Like Bucks hate him. Bucks fans are struggling with him right now. There seems to be all this animosity. But previously, Giannis was the poster boy for what the NBA wanted, to the point where they changed how players get paid. If you stay with the team you're drafted by, you could make a fortune. So it's interesting now to see that totally flip. And if he goes to Miami, he's a big hypocrite. Everything I've read is that if he had his way, he'd be on the Knicks. Same.
All
It's like
right.
the same thing with Mitchell.
I'm glad you brought that up. Wait, let me pull this up here
Go ahead.
because I thought about it. It's so funny. We think alike sometimes. I thought
Mm,
about um that quote because it's like, that makes you kind of a hypocrite. And then we see it in real time start to change. Here's Giannis after he wins in Milwaukee saying, I could go to a super team and just do
that's what
my
I
part and win a
remembered. Yeah.
championship. But this is the hard way to do it. This is the way to do it. And we did it. And now look at Giannis on his way out. So
And
it's
you remember that quote, and I thought it was a good one, when somebody asked him if the season was a failure
oh
after they
yeah.
lost, and he said, Michael Jordan won 6 championships. Are all his other seasons a failure? I thought it was a pretty good follow up. I He does fit in Miami.
He fits in
There's some
Miami.
truth about that in terms of like basketball, X's and O's.
Urbano on X hits us with this. He fits in Miami. He also wants to be around Greeks. New York has the most to California, and then Chicago makes a difference. Listen, in the end,
Astoria. He
yeah,
needs to live in Astoria.
he wants to live in Astoria.
Mhm.
One of my boys had a Greek restaurant in Astoria. Um,
The best.
I think, and I know we got to get out of here in a few minutes. I think what
Sure.
this comes down to is we're part of the problem, us in the media. And we wonder why LeBron goes ring chasing, Durant goes ring chasing, but it's because we measure guys based on the amount of championships they won. My favorite player of all time, Kobe Bryant, he was told winning three wasn't good enough. Why? Because he got carried by Shaq. Even though we watched it in real time and saw it wasn't true, Shaq was the best player, but Kobe did more than his part. So he had to win the other two without Shaq. So once you get to measuring it based on the amount of championships, you then come to understand why these athletes go ring chasing. So we're really part of the problem. We want them to be loyal to smaller markets, but then we destroy them once they get bounced. And to the point that you just brought up, the reason why he answered the question about that season being a failure was because he was asked if that season was a failure.
Right. Look, at the end of the day, this isn't golf. This isn't tennis. This is a team sport. You could be Dan Marino, who we could all argue is one of the best ever, if not the best ever. It takes a team, and it always. What Michael Jordan will be the first to tell you he wouldn't have won without Scotty all those years, and you know Horace Grant in the beginning, and whoever you name it, like he would give credit to his teammates because one person does not define it all, and yet any room you walk into, there will be this generational battle. It's like, hey, LeBron versus Michael Jordan, like and I can't even entertain these types of discussions because you're only talking about them because they're the two guys you saw on the most Nike ads in the time of their existence. It's really not a debate when we're talking about teams. That's just how I look at it.
Last one before we get out of here. Speaking of generational battles, got to
Mm.
get your thoughts on Bill Polian versus Bill Belichick.
Mm. Do you,
Man, yo, Bill Polian went from
right,
I definitely voted for Bill Belichick to actually I don't quite remember.
right. So here's the thing. It's obviously completely illogical that Bill Belichick did not make the Hall of Fame. I'll just get that out there. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Um, Recently, I had a conversation with some peers about the Baseball Hall of Fame. Beltron, we just saw, got in, and somebody brought up Kurt Schilling, who is just a controversial person. and has done a lot of really, frankly, mean things, and
Yeah.
it's all well documented. Um, Rather than get into it, it just raised the question: does your off the field stuff before you've been voted in affect writers' votes?
It
And to me,
does.
the answer is it always has, and it always will. Even if they reach certain thresholds, like Bill Belichick, you should just look at his coaching resume. You shouldn't even care about what happened at with his 23-year-old girlfriend or his North Carolina situation or the fact that he failed with Mac Jones. Like, you could literally just stop it before all that, and that should be enough to get him into the Hall of Fame on roller skates. But the truth is, writers have recent memories too, and they think about Mac Jones, they think about this weird girlfriend, which I'll just say it's weird, and they think about this North Carolina thing.
And the Spygate stuff, I think all of it is
You
like,
think that's part of
honestly,
it?
well, just reading reports,
Maybe,
Bill
right?
Polian's got a bone to pick with him. Bill Polian was the general manager of the Colts, so Spygate, like
Sure.
this honestly, and we're only,
Deflategate.
yeah, that stuff. We're
Yeah.
only 28 days into 2026. This is the dumbest story that we have so far the year. The fact that Bill Belichick's not a first ballot Hall of Famer is an absolute disgrace.
It's silly. But the root point I want to make is, no matter what you think or what you do, when you have a job in the public eye, and I don't really like this because I'm a sports fan and I really mainly care about the sports. And a lot of times you root for people like Lawrence Taylor who do things off the field you can't even wrap your head around, and you do not want to even have that conversation. But so if we're just talking about sports, I don't really want to go down this road of how they're supposed to carry themselves, how they're supposed to be. But when you get a guy like Jalen Brunson or an Eli Manning or a Derek Jeter, fill in the blank, Aaron Judge, the person that just checks all those boxes and being in the public eye, that is important because you don't want to give anyone any extra dirt and how they look at you in any way. And in today's world, that's extremely challenging. So when it comes to the years after you've played or coached or whatever, and you're trying to get into the Hall of Fame, that still applies. You need to
Yeah,
carry
but
yourself well in the public eye.
the reason why I don't love the Kurt Schilling analysis or analogy is because Kurt Schilling is just a bad guy.
I
Belichick
agree.
is mean to reporters. Like, who
I mean,
cares?
but
The
like,
stuff with his girl is weird, but who cares? That has nothing to do with him as a coach.
please don't compare Belichick to Schilling in terms of their stuff off the field. But the point is, if you forget about all the bad stuff Schilling did, like ruined Tim Wakefield's dying wishes and say horribly, racist things, whatever he's done, it's all terrible. But I think if you just look at the fact that he has 3,000 strikeouts, for some people that's enough. For
Yeah.
some people that's like, how are you not in the like Ty Cobb is known as one of the worst people on earth, but
Mhm.
he's in the
In the
Hall of
Hall of
Fame.
Fame.
So it's a predicament. I think it should mainly be about sports, but I know it's not. And I know if you are a bad dude, I don't think I would give Kurt Schilling a vote if I had a vote. But I would give Bill Belichick a vote if I had a vote, to make it really clear.
This was really fun, man. I appreciate you joining. I mean, we just
Amen.
went an hour,
Could
just
keep
going
going.
all over the map.
Tell
We
Dave
def
and Rick we can take that morning show when they're ready to hang it up.
from SUNY Oneonta to ESPN
Hmm.
Radio in New York. The sideliners. You think we bring back the name the sideline the
Guess
sideline?
what? It's still going. They
Is
kept
it
that
still
name.
going?
Well, I mean, like, they've changed some things in terms of like how they do the show, the format, whatever. But it's the same name.
That's
Say it's
cool,
still
man.
there. That is
Look at
cool.
look at your legacy, man. All the best to
Power.
you. Appreciate you, brother. All
Yeah,
the
you
best to
too.
you, your family, your wife, your kids. We would definitely do this sometime soon. Oh, quickly before you go out of here, Super
Okay.
Bowl prediction.
I hope this. I actually think the Seahawks will win by a lot. So let's go with 35-21
Love it.
Seahawks. Yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
My man, Anthony Beers, Tony Joseph. Appreciate you, my man. I'll
And
talk to you
same to
soon.
you, man. All the good wishes to you and your family. Be well.
Absolutely. That was Anthony Beers. I appreciate him joining the show. It's always a great time when we link up. Shout out to all you guys here in the room. Ty D. Butler. Give me a follow on X, on YouTube, on Instagram. Um, a lot of stuff happening today. You've got Todd Munkin going to Cleveland, so the Giants miss out on their number one choice for offensive coordinator. You've got the Jets hiring some dude. Honestly, I don't want to disrespect the man by saying I've never heard of him. but is it moving the needle? Brian Duker. It makes sense because Aaron Glenn's going to call the plays. It's also not a very attractive job. So you need someone like the pass game coordinator from the Dolphins, which was his last stop. But uh, the Jets finally have their defensive coordinator. And then, of course, you have the Knicks involved in trade rumors because it was just announced Giannis. He wants out of Milwaukee. This is official news from Shams. Giannis and the Bucks engaged in trade talks to facilitate his exit out of the Milwaukee organization, and that is going to happen either, and this is where the story is so fascinating. We could either see him get traded in the next 8 days, or we won't see it for another couple of months. I get emotional talking about Giannis. We won't see it for another couple of months when this thing gets to the offseason, and where it also becomes just easier to facilitate such a trade of that magnitude. If you're the Bucks, this is the one of the best players in the league. I guess you could argue the best player in franchise history, him and Kareem, right? Um, so you have to handle this with delicacy, and you want to make sure that as best as you can, you get the most amount of assets. And those assets are going to be blue chip players and some draft picks going forward. You've got no interest in a Carl Anthony Towns or Mikal Bridges, so you need that third team to be involved in such a trade. But I want to hear from everybody. If you're a Jet fan, I want to talk to you right now. If you're a Giant fan, weighing in on the Monkey News. If you are a Knicks fan and you just saw on your screen that Sham Charania is reporting Giannis on the way out, ready for a new home at the deadline or in the offseason. You got rival teams making aggressive offers to the Bucks. And this is what makes things so fun. Player movement. We all love it. We all appreciate it. It provides some spice. It's why I just get so mad at baseball, man. Coming off of that World Series, that the boring offseason that you had and how it spilled into late January. What a mess. But got a lot happening in the sports world, especially here in New York. Man, the Jets, dysfunctional, disaster, embarrassment. I went off on them last night. Aaron Glenn, this time next year, will not be employed. And so it makes the defensive coordinator position less attractive. They finally get that guy, Brian Duker, former pass game coordinator from the Dolphins. Offensive coordinator, gotta wait to see. Apparently, they've reached out to John Gruden last night. John Gruden, who was desperate to get back into the NFL, reached out to him. He said, "Nah, I'm good. I'm good. Nah, I am all the way good." Justin Forocho says, Jets, holy hell. Yeah, man. What a mess. What an absolute mess. And you know what's so funny? We always say, like, just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it somehow got worse. That should be like the Jet fan mantra. It's the Jet fan mantra. The Jet fan mantra. Trust me, man, we don't care about interceptions. We don't care about interceptions. Aaron Glenn told you what mattered most to him last year was they did not get a field goal blocked. So shout out to Nick Falk. Interceptions be damned. We have a different barometer for how we measure success with this football team. That has to make you feel like throwing up. It wasn't going to be a sexy hire. And that's why you had to caution Jet fans early. Whoever they were going to hire was not going to be sexy. Now, maybe they get a sexy hire with Frank Reich at the offensive coordinator position. That would be fantastic. But this move was not going to be sexy. Aaron Glenn wants to call plays. And whoever the candidate is has to come into it knowing we might have this thing blown up next year anyway. The Jets are not going to be good. Not going to be a good team. And so, what's there to talk about? They're playing the AFC West and the NFC North. Nothing but playoff teams. Nothing but playoff teams and championship contenders. So, JETS stands for just end the season or Jets entire team sucks. Let's go with just end the season. And the season hasn't even started yet. You got a bunch of Jet fans, and that's the crazy part. Haven't even gotten to next season when we're already like, all right, wake me up at 2027. The Knicks, I think you make the Giannis trade. The calf injuries scare me. The calf injuries do scare me, but I think you make the Giannis trade. Um, I just fear, like if I'm a Knicks fan, my biggest fear is that he goes elsewhere to a Miami. He loves his time there, and he signs that extension. And now you've missed out on Giannis. I don't think this current iteration of the team can win a championship. As much as I've got respect for Brunson, as much as I love OG as a player when he's healthy, and I say the same thing about Mitchell Robinson, the Brunson Cat combo doesn't feel like it works to the point of winning a title. And I'm beating a dead horse here, but when your two best players are that bad defensively, where you have to stagger their minutes, and ultimately they're going to start the game together and in theory, should be ending the game together. Winning 4 playoff rounds with a bad defensive unit, and the unit will be bad when you have both Jalen and Cat there. I just don't see that maximizing or maxing out at, at winning a championship. So what's the offer look like? What does the offer look like for the Knicks? Kalshi Sports. Giannis Antetokounmpo's odds on Kalshi to be traded to the Knicks or the Heat are surging. They're going up. This thing is real. It's happening, y'all. That thing is happening. Giannis. Looks like rumors are New York, Miami, Toronto, Orlando seen as the most aggressive suitors currently for Giannis. Here's the thing. So if you are a team right now that is not on Giannis's preferred list, I don't think that should scare you off. Now, he has a lot of power, not just because of his status, but because 2 years from now, he's got a player option for $62 million that he's going to opt out of at age 33 and get his last big deal. So essentially, he's a year and a half rental. But Kawhi showed you, listen, you get me here at the right time and things come together, we win a championship, and no one's ripping Toronto for making that trade, even though Kawhi walked that following summer because they got a title out of it. So if you're Orlando or Toronto, Miami, and Giannis isn't of the mindset that, I want to sign with your team long term, make the deal. You got a year and a half to make it work. Swing for the fences. So per Shams, blue chip young talent and or a surplus of draft picks. The Knicks do not have blue chip young talent. They don't have a surplus of draft picks. So what they're going to have to do is have other teams get involved. Other teams are going to get involved. The next 9 days, man, or 8 days, I should say, going to be crazy. Giannis with a chance at a next destination. Oh my goodness. If you're the Buck, I'm gonna pull up a trade rumor I just saw. Before I do that, let me hit your comment. Can Rose afford to lose out on Giannis because he spent too much on Bridges, which by the way sounds like a secret Dolan move that Rose had to eat. Can he afford to lose out on Giannis? I guess if the team wins the championship, then no one cares, right? So you're asking, like, with the understanding that you don't think that this current team can win a championship, can he afford to lose out on Giannis? I'm inclined to say no, but then who knows the next star that becomes available? One thing I will say is that these championship windows don't stay as open as long as we think. We overrate that. and we've done it. You just go back the last half decade. The Lakers win the title. Oh, they've got an endless window. They've won what, one playoff series since then. The Bucks won one playoff series since their championship in 21. We didn't think the Warriors window was open. So let's go to Denver. Denver hasn't gone back to the finals. Celtics, they're the next dynasty. Got clipped in round two. The windows don't stay open as long as we think they do. So my thinking now has changed to, you got to strike when the iron's hot. If you got a chance to win the title, you go out and do it. The trade proposal I wanted to show you guys. I'll pull it up here on the screen. Here it goes. Knicks Union just puts this out. And Jeff Johnson, I'm going to be doing a stream with him later on. So the Knicks get Giannis, Drew Holiday, Thanasis, and a pick swap with the Bucks. Blazers get Bridges, Yabusele, Dadier. The Bucks get Towns, Clarkson, and then a couple of picks. That doesn't make sense for the Bucks. The Bucks want blue chippers or draft picks, and you're giving them bad contract. You're giving them the Towns contract that's not good. This is where we kind of lose our minds. That's not a good trade. It's not a good trade. All right. I appreciate you guys joining. Jeff Johnson is going to be on with me later. I think we set the time for 3:30. I'll put the notification out on Twitter. Jeff Johnson, who's done a ton of work, TNT, Bleacher Report, Knicks Film School, NBA Takedown Pod. I'm going to be talking to him in the next couple hours. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Ty D Butler. Hit me up on X and on Instagram. Hit that follow button, and you'll see me in a few hours talking Knicks with Jeff Johnson. I'll stay all over the football as the news comes down with the Giants and the Jets. So I appreciate you guys joining the show today. Holla at your boy. Deuces.